Dr. Greg Braden said, to create reality, we need to focus on the outcome as if it has already happened. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 factors that are always getting in our way to creating our reality. And they are there all the time, and they've been with us for thousands and thousands of years. As we look back at the ancient texts and ancient books, we find that there are 3 things that are always appearing and they're always getting in our way. So if you want to create your reality, you need to have a future vision. You need to know what that outcome looks like, and you need to get into a state of feeling so that you can get into your emotions. We know that our emotions are part of our subconscious mind, our hard drive. And if we don't tap into those emotions, guess what? We don't make effective decisions. That's why they say that it's important that when you're selling something that you help people get into their emotions, or when you're buying something, recognize when you get emotional. If it's a house or a car, you've probably watched these programs where people are buying these beautiful houses and they're multi-million-dollar houses, and somebody, is being told the house is $12 million and their budget is $10 million. Well, even if it's $12 million, they still want it. Why? Because they're getting emotionally involved and they like it and they want it. But there are 3 things, like I said, these 3 factors that are always going to get in our way. And we've seen it in the times of Romans and back when the pyramids were being built. And these are always going to get in our way when we're trying to create our reality, because we are beings that have limitations. And one of the first limitations is our need to conflict. We always want to win. We are wired for winning. James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, pointed that out, that we are wired for winning. We're always trying to win. So if we're always trying to win, then what are we going to do? We're going to go and compete against other people, right? There's going to be competition. So if we're competing against other people, then we're going to try and be better than them. And we'll do whatever it takes to be better than others sometimes. And so when we try to compete, now we are taking the first step to conflicting with people. We're competing with them. We're now saying, I'm better, you're not. I have a better product, you don't. I can do this better, you can't. That's the idea of competition. And we live in a world where in business, and if you're in business, because I work with business people, that you are always going to be looking at others and comparing them. And by comparing them, you're creating a competition. You are separate from them and you are trying to be better than them. There's a great teacher, Dan Sullivan. He's a coach of coaches, and he said that we should not be competing with other people. We should be seeking to collaborate with them. If we can collaborate with people, it's much better. Why? You could take your competition and turn them into a collaborative partnership instead of trying to win against them. When you try to win against them, you create friction. Mother Teresa said, I will always contribute to something as long as there is a positive outcome, as long as there's no fighting. If somebody knocked on Mother Teresa's door and said, hey, how would you like to support the fight against cancer, the fight against this disease? She's not going to participate. She wouldn't participate. Why? Because she doesn't contribute to things that are creating a conflict and a competition. So the first thing is, and again, going back to ancient times, competition. Where do we see competition? We saw competition with the lion in the ring against the Romans. There was always these competitions going on. There was competitions against other countries, and we still have it. We have cultural competitions. We have competitions against other countries. We have competitions within our own communities, competitions in businesses, competitions with our neighbors. We know what it's like. You see a neighbor that has an immaculate lawn. What is everybody else trying to do? They're trying to get their lawn to the same standard of that guy. Why? Well, because it looks good and because they want to be recognized and validated for having such a beautiful lawn. Some people don't care, but most people do. So we're in competition. We are trying to win. That's how we're wired. We're trying to win, so we're going to automatically go into competition with other people. And that's step 1. So when we go into competition, we create a conflict. So now we're in conflict with them. but we might be even in conflict with ourselves. And I'll talk about that in a moment, but we're in conflict with them. So we're in competition. Now we have a conflict. Guess what? We're now going to go against them and try to push and try to win and try to do whatever it takes so that we come out on top. We want to win. So conflict and competition go together. We're competing against somebody and now we're in conflict with them. So we've taken 2 steps towards what? There's going to be an ultimate end to this. But let me talk about the inner conflict as I was mentioning. So if we are conflicting with other people because we want to win, we're in competition, we want to win against them, and we want to be better, then we're in conflict with them. But we might be in conflict with ourselves as well. We might do things that go against our own beliefs, our own standards, our own values. So let's say, for example, we had an opportunity to do business with somebody and it involved doing something illegal. We had to do something illegal. We had to lie and be dishonest and go against the law. And we might do it. So we do it because we want to win. It's more important to win than it is to be honorable and honest. So now we're in conflict with ourselves. So we can be in conflict with others, but also with ourselves. And that creates huge issues. Lots and lots of people are in conflict with themselves. Just take your physical health, for example. If you look in the mirror and the words that come to your mind are, I'm fat, I'm sluggish, I'm unhealthy, guess what? You're in conflict with yourself because you don't want to be sluggish and fat and unhealthy. You don't want to be that. You want to be lean, light, and strong, happy, healthy, and calm. Those are the things that you would like to be likely, but you're in conflict with yourself. So notice that we can have internal conflicts and external conflicts. We're focusing on the external conflicts, but I at least wanted to highlight the internal ones that could be going on as well in this dynamic where you are having a competition with somebody and now you have a conflict. Now you're clashing and it's a fight. And guess what happens when you have fights? When 2 atoms are bashing against each other like this, we create a lot of heat, create a lot of friction. So if we create more and more and more and more friction with that conflict, guess what happens? Bang, 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 bang. Eventually, separation. That's the third and final stage. So we can have competition, conflict, and separation. And once we have separation, now we're no longer cooperating. Now we are no longer in a vibration where we can work together. It just happens that we are wired to win, but we also want to, we want to be on top. And so because we want to be on top, what are we doing? We're going against ourselves. We're going against others. We're going against our values. We're going against all sorts of things. And so conflict and competition are going to create separation. And once we have separation, then there's nothing to talk about anymore. We know what it's like in marriages. What happens when the separation starts? The separation starts, and sometimes people come back together, but most times they don't. Why? Because they blame the other person. They are now pointing at the other person saying, you're to blame. I don't like you. You're doing all these horrible things. I don't want to be part of that anymore. I'm not going to put up with it anymore. You can't change. I don't want to deal with this. I can't handle it. Remember, the fear of anything is the fear of not being able to handle something, based on Susan Jeffers' work in Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, a great book. So if you have fear of not being able to handle something and you've separated, guess what? You're going to stay separated. So conflict, competition, and separation. Those are the 3 factors that are always going to get in your way to creating a new and better reality. Why? Because now your outcomes are very clear. You're competing against somebody, you're conflicting with them, and ultimately there's going to be separation. You cannot have conflict and competition without separation. We know that. If you are a parent, or if you've ever seen a parent with children and you've seen 2 children fighting, guess what happens if they fight and hurt each other and hit each other? What does the parent do? Separate them. That's what has to happen. What does the law do with people that fight and conflict? Separate them. You think about it. Doesn't matter whether it's on the street and 2 people fighting, the police separate them. Or it could be in a hockey game, the referees separate the people that are fighting. That's what has to happen. But just notice this. If you notice you are competing and conflicting with others and trying to win and trying to be on top, then you are leading towards separation. And separation is not going to give you that outcome. It's not going to create that reality that we talked about before. And if you're going to create a reality that you can see and you can feel and you can touch, then you can't do it with conflict and competition, because ultimately you will have separation. And separation is the ultimate. It's the ultimate that leads you down the path to nowhere. You are now in a low vibration. Why? Because you're separated. You have no more support and you can't collaborate and cooperate with other people. And so then you're limited, and you're a limited state. You're basically like a cork being held down underwater, and you're trying to rise up, but you can't rise up unless you have support from others. There's a great quote that you have to do everything yourself, but you can't do it alone. So you can't do anything alone. Nobody does anything alone. They'll always do it with support. Some people do it with physical support. Some people do it spiritual support. They pray and they ask for what they want, and then they get results. They invite it in. And the way that you create a reality and the outcomes that you want is you write them down. If you want to use Noah St. John's work, he wrote the little book of affirmations. They're affirmations, but they're done in a way that you ask questions, and you ask why questions. Don't ask me why. I won't explain it here right now, but just know this. If you're going to ask a question that's going to create an outcome you want, you have to ask it with a why statement. Let's say you want more money, more freedom, and more flexibility to be with your family, and you have a business, and you don't want to sacrifice your family for your business. So what you need to do is ask questions that's going to move you in that direction. So you might ask questions that have to do with money. You might say, why am I getting new referrals all the time? Why am I receiving money from unforeseen sources on a continuous basis? Why is my bank account so full of money? Why is it that when I give away money, I get more money? And that's money related. And then you might ask questions that are related to having happy customers and clients. Why am I getting so many happy customers? Why do I have so many opportunities to work with so many amazing clients and customers? Why are things working out for me? Why is everything moving in the right direction? Why am I feeling so good? Get into a state of feeling and keep asking why questions. If you ask why questions, you tap into what's called the reticular activating system. It's called the RAS, R-A-S. You tap into your RAS, and then you ask effective questions. This is a part of your mind that solves every single problem. When somebody asks you a question, you don't recognize it, but your RAS gets activated, and instantaneously you are trying to solve the problem. Just know this, by the way, men generally are problem solvers. They are the world's problem solvers. Not all men are, and there are plenty of women that are problem solvers, but men in general love to solve problems. That's why the dynamic between husband and wife or male and female can sometimes be challenging, because a spouse, a woman may want to talk and say what's going on and let her feelings out and regulate her emotions, and meanwhile a man's trying to solve it, and that doesn't work. And maybe in the business world it's a little bit different, because if a man is leading a business, then a woman will step up and be, think like a male, think like a man. But the problem is that if you are trying to solve problems all the time, if you're a guy and you're trying to solve problems all the time, then you're going to be overcome with trying to solve too many problems. I just had a call with a client today, and he's trying to solve problems all the time. So he's dealing with the urgent instead of the important. Always solving problems. We don't need to be always solving problems. All we need to do is solve problems that's going to move us towards the outcome we want. And we want to sidestep conflict and competition. Move towards collaboration. Otherwise, you're going to have separation. And if you have separation, you know what's going to happen. You're going to be alone. You're going to be trying to figure things out. You're going to have to start from scratch. That's going to put you right down to base camp and the bottom. Don't let that get you. These are old, ancient ways of doing things. The new way is to get control over this. And the new way is to think about what you want, set your intentions, and collaborate with others. Find a way to cooperate and collaborate. And then you can systematize your business and your life and get things flowing. That way you don't sacrifice your family for your business. And you can move forward and feel good and have the kinds of outcomes you want. This is not anything new. It's just that I put it into context for you now, and ask those why questions. Get your reticular activating system working for you. And the best way, by the way, to get these affirmations going is to hear them. Record yourself. Use your phone. Use your voice memo or whatever you need to on your phone and record yourself. If you don't want to do that, you can also take an iPhone at least, and you can put them in text format, and there's a speaking function. You can turn that on in your settings. You can turn it on so that it reads what's on the screen. It's for people that are blind, and so you can turn that on and let it speak those words to you, so you don't have to do so much heavy lifting. So once again, don't let conflict and competition take hold of you, because if you do, you're going to have separation. And you might have done this before, but don't let it happen again. Because if you do, then that's going to be your habitual way. And if you keep repeating these patterns over and over and over again, guess what? They will compound. You know, Charlie Munger said, never interrupt something that's compounding, right? Unnecessarily. Well, this is a case where you want to interrupt it. You don't want to let your bad habits compound and conflict and competition get in your way, because you'll be ultimately separated. And if you've been separated in your life, whether it's separated from your parents or your siblings or your spouse or anybody else or friends, you know, that you had a conflict with. I had a conflict with a friend. Why? Because I approached him and his wife about a business that I was doing, and they didn't like the business or the way that I approached them. And guess what? Unfortunately, they saw it as an extreme conflict against their values and their principles and their standards, and we don't hang out or talk anymore. And that's just because they had a perspective about what I was doing, and I wasn't aware that I was going to cross a line with them, and now we're separated, basically for life. Not a great circumstance, but these are the kinds of things that happen. And even with my own family, same thing with my parents. We never really had any bonds, and so now we're separated. We're, it's estranged from one another. Why? Well, because we have nothing to communicate on, and there was too much conflict going on as I was growing up. So unfortunately, that's the way it is right now, and we have to live with that. And the separation is there. It may get better at some point, depending on circumstances, but for now, that's the way it is. So once again, conflict, competition, they lead to separation. Always, always, always. Don't let these old ways catch you and trap you and hold you down. They don't have to. You can take control and recognize when you're trying to conflict or compete, especially if you're competing with somebody else, then that's going to lead to conflict, and then you're going to end up separated. So if you don't want to do that anymore, then stop the competing and eliminate the conflict. Then you eliminate the conflict, and then you won't separate, and then you can move forward, and your life and your business will get so much better. And like Greg Braden said, if you're going to create your reality, you have to look to your outcomes and look beyond them and see what that looks like. And the only way that you can do that is not to conflict and compete with others, and look to your future and imagine it and feel it and really get into it, so that you can have the kind of lifestyle you want. Because reality is based on your own circumstances. Andrew Carnegie said, if I'm not living the life that I want, then I create the circumstances to create that. And you can create the circumstances and the environment. You just need to start here and ask why questions like Noah St. John taught us. So put this to work, test it, and then come back and let me know how it's going, how you're moving forward, getting results done, and getting things done, and getting the results you want and the outcomes you want, and you're building your reality, because you can. And if you want to build your reality, study a great book, Be Your Future Self Now by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. It's an awesome book. You can't get any better than this. The research that he's done is phenomenal, and it's the new way. The old way is conflict and competition. So let's stop that. All right. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. See you on my next one. As always, thanks for watching.